Hi, welcome back to our channel, Being Human. My name is Jeff Furlot. Today, I'd like to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, known as the three principles. The three principles are mind, thought, and consciousness. The three principles are a concept that were discovered by this man named Sydney Banks, probably back in the 70s. Sid was an interesting guy. He had a ninth grade education. He was a welder in Scotland. And he had basically this epiphany that one day he decided that all things are created based on these three principles. The principle of universal mind, universal thought, and universal consciousness. Now, what are principles? But principles, if you know anything about them, are truths like mathematics or gravity. So let's start with universal mind. So mind, and bear in mind that this discussion is kind of difficult to have when you've been living this way for a considerable amount of time. It's hard to put something like this understanding into words. And I know that sounds woo, but let's go there anyways. Before we talk about them, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on how I came about this understanding of these three principles. So for many years, I was a heavy drinker, and it was really, really difficult and terrible, a horrible way to live. So when I went into treatment, I went into a program, and the curriculum was based around what was known, or what I've come to understand are the three principles. And it was through maneuvering through this and discovering what these things meant, I started to realize that most of my suffering came from the way I was thinking about everything. So as I started to feel better, my thoughts started to become clearer, and I started to realize through reading about these things and coming to this particular understanding that I am the creator of my own thoughts. Here's a good way to discuss the concept of mind. It's an intelligent design. There are birds. Right now, I live in the Northeast, and we're coming into, we're in fall. And right now, the birds are gathering together to fly south for the winter. This is something they do automatically. They don't talk about it. They don't get together at a bird meeting and go, it's time for us to go. One bird will start, and the others around the area will start to follow. And they form those V shapes. You ever see that when the geese are flying south? There's an intelligent design to life. An acorn knows that it's supposed to turn into an oak tree. That's part of the intelligent design. That's really the best way to describe mind, and we're all a part of that. Consciousness, that's an interesting one because it can be tricky, but it's best described as awareness. I'm aware that I am thinking something right now. I'm searching for the words to say, and I'm aware of that. When you're not aware of things that are happening, things get a little convoluted. So there's an awareness to it. It's part of the intelligent design. They're linked together. Then there's thought. So thought is also very interesting because we think about everything in the world. No act is ever created without thought. I was talking to a client today, and the client said to me, I don't understand why I keep relapsing. It's if I do it automatically. I'll be doing great, and I'll be completely sober. And the next thing I know, that's one of my favorites, the next thing I know, I got a wine bottle in my hand and I'm getting shit-faced. And we laughed about it, but I pointed out to this particular client that you actually had to think about going and getting the actual bottle of wine. You had to go to the liquor store or wherever and pick it up. So you thought about it. You just didn't stop yourself from acting upon it. And generally speaking, when you are at a low level of consciousness, your thoughts have a tendency to be a little bit more skewed and negative. When you're at a higher level of consciousness, your thinking is a little bit more positive, and you're sort of going through life and feeling pretty good about things. And if you're feeling pretty good about things, chances are you're not going to do a bunch of stuff that would impact you negatively. The reason why this understanding had a significant impact on me is because for a very long time, and this is true for a lot of people that have a considerable amount of bad habits, you get caught up in the negativity of it. You feel trapped. You feel encased in this sort of darkness. And you do things almost automatically and then beat yourself up over it internally because you can't seem to figure it out. And most people would say to anybody suffering from any kind of addiction that, we've heard, if maybe you've said this too, why don't you just stop? Well, when you create a habit, it happens automatically and it's almost like a subconscious thing. We'll get into that later on. But I found personally what was enlightening about this is it seemed to give me my power back. We should be taught that more, but it doesn't seem to be, at the forefront of education. That we do as we're told, and others have power over us, and we need to, fall in line. And this was a very freeing experience for me. And most people that I know that were engaged in it, they felt a sense of freedom as well. Because when you understand that you are part of something bigger, you understand that there's an intelligent design behind life. And when you're aware, when you're at a high level of consciousness and you're aware of your thinking, you're more likely to make better decisions because you're not just going to go out there and run around and just do things in a free form way. When you become aware of your thinking, you're more likely to lean on the more positive aspects of the thoughts that are coming through. And thinking affects your mood. If you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, today is going to be a shitty day, alarm clock goes off, I'm tired, I didn't sleep well last night, and I got to go into work, and that's how you start your day, then chances are the day is not going to look so great when you're stuck in that negative thought, that low level of consciousness. But at any moment, you have available to you positive thinking. It's there. It's a gratitude thing. It's looking deep within yourself that and having some perspective on life. So yeah, maybe I got to go into work today, but at least I'm going to work today. And it's a matter of really just changing some of the language. I have to go to work today. Or maybe you have some perspective and you go, I get to go to work today. Doing a job like I do, working with a lot of clients and with people that aren't at their best mindset yet, that can be a bit tough because it's difficult to empathize with people that aren't willing to listen. It's difficult to be involved with people that have had a bad go. After you've delved into the three principles for yourself and you personalize it and you start practicing it, it's going to become easier and easier for you to recognize, no, that's just a thought. That's me. I'm doing that. It isn't what that person who's looking at me thinks, because they're probably not thinking about me at all. They probably just looked in my direction. But if you're at a low level of consciousness and somebody gives you a look, I mean, what usually happens? Well, you want to fight? That's all bullshit. Most people don't really consider us that much. Not in a bad way. It's just people got their own shit going on in their head. So practicing these three principles has helped me to have more empathy for other people that probably are at a lower level of consciousness. There's a moment that will happen if you do this enough, where when you see what we're talking about, you can't unsee it. You recognize it in other people, and maybe they're at a low level of consciousness. If you're in a relationship and that person is in a bad mood and you take it personally, it's a little easier to understand where their head is at when you start to recognize that maybe they're at a low level right now. Maybe their thinking is a little skewed. And I think if more people find that, they're going to find that their life becomes a little bit more comfortable. Um, and for anybody with an addiction problem, like I had, you start to recognize that if I have control of my thinking and I understand that I'm the one that's doing it, then I can change it into a more positive direction. And if I do that, then generally speaking, more positive things will happen. Again, if you don't believe in this kind of stuff, I understand why you would be like, "Whoa." Trust me, this stuff works. I see it work. I have seen it work on thousands of people that I've helped over the years I've been working in this field. And that's a power that you can't buy. Can't get in a pill. We have a great chemistry set right up here, and we have control how these things work. Being aware, it makes it easier for you to catch your thinking and gravitate into another direction before it takes off on you. Perhaps the most important thing that I'd like to stress when it comes to understanding the three principles is please don't try and intellectualize it. Try and look for the feeling that you get. When you start to pay attention to your thinking, when you start to become more self-aware of how you're feeling, something's going to happen to you that's going to wake you up to something that's been stirring inside of you for a long time, probably every human being. So please study it. Please look it up. Read Sid Banks, Michael Neal, Maura Gleason. There's a lot of information out there. Get curious. Look it up on the internet. And don't try and intellectualize it. I can't stress that enough. I tried to do that. One of the things that I said that you'll probably say is, there's no way it can be that easy. I hate to break it to you, it is. For me, it helped me get sober. Most importantly, it helped me learn how to live and become a happier person and a little bit more enlightened and kinder to myself. And therefore, I could become kinder to other people. It helped my relationship with my family and my coworkers. It made me tapped into opportunities that come my way that I would normally ignore because I was down here. So give it a shot. Thank you for listening. I hope this wasn't too confusing for you, but if it was, I understand. But trust me, it works. Thank you very much.